Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 325, Vision. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm here today in my studio with my producer.
Good morning, everybody. Sean Kilgore here with you again this morning for another episode of Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson. Happy and blessed to be here with you as always. Today is Monday, September 9th. This is again episode 325, and we are talking about vision today. Before we get to that, a couple things, shout outs that we always like to do. Today we're shouting out. So this is my parents. We're going to shout out to the Kilgores.
All right, Catherine.
Catherine and Howard up there
Catherine and Howard.
I should have said in the last episode, we shouted out to Cleveland. I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland, Brunswick, Ohio. That's where they are. They join us every week on YouTube. I get a picture. Sent to me every week when they got it up on the big TV. They're watching it on the huge TV in the living room, and they love it. They've been joining us every week since we started, and so happy and blessed that they're able to go on this journey with us,
awesome.
With me, with you. So happy. I thought that'd be fun to give them a little shout out. My mom just recently on the last episode commented. That was the first time she commented. Like actually was able to type a comment and get it posted. And
Way to go.
She did it. You did it, Mom. Good job.
Well, I tell you, I need to thank both your parents for making you, Sean. So
thanks.
Yeah. You have dear family, and I love them both, and I love the fact that they're listening. So thank you both for your love and for listening and your support. It's sweet to know, and you're very fortunate, Sean, to have your parents. Both of mine have been gone. My dad many, many years, and my mom just a few years ago. So yeah. I think you're really, really blessed to have them. I still want you to move to Florida. Come on down.
I know. I'm pushing for it. I'm pushing for it. Now everyone knows. Now you have to. No,
yeah, exactly. Now you have to. RCA said.
So they were also going to,
awesome.
yeah, totally. So thank you. And we also are shouting out to Ormond Beach, Florida today.
Oh, yes. I have some new friends in Ormond Beach. And
that's cool. Yeah, they got a couple
yeah.
downloads of the last episode in Ormond Beach. So
yeah, that is great. Well, that's really cool. I haven't really talked a lot about this, on the show, but I'm going to be moving to a new ministry, Unity of Daytona Beach. I'll be their senior minister starting in October. And so Ormond Beach area is close enough that many people will be driving in. It's probably 15, 20-minute drive. So I've already heard from some friends in Ormond, some friends in Flagler, and, that area. So thank you, friends. It's really fun to have new friends listening as well.
Yeah, very nice.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
And congratulations to you. I don't know. I kept myself up on the screen a little too long. It was just me the whole time.
It's all Sean. It's all
just
about
me.
You.
Yeah, just me and my reactions to you. Me going, oh.
You and your folks. It's all about you and your folks today.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No problem. I'm happy to see your mug.
Likewise.
Yeah, but this
Every
is
day.
a wonderful change, and I love the people at Unity North Tampa, and I've been so honored to be their minister, and it's just a really far distance, and, my contract was up, and it just, this opportunity presented itself, and I'll still be supporting Unity North Tampa, which is great. I'm going to support them in getting ministers in through the end of the year and potentially going forward. They've already asked me to come back and speak next year, and I would love to do that. And I love to be of service to ministries. And as I shared at Unity North Tampa and Unity of Daytona Beach, that I've been in the movement so long that I often get calls from around the country to support or for ideas or for prosperity teachings, and I'm honored to do it. So just bless all the folks at Unity North Tampa and also in my new ministry. So anyway, all is well, though. There's no problem or anything like that. It was just time for me to move, and it was a real far distance, but I wanted to serve him as long as I could. So
absolutely. But truly, congratulations to you. I know what that drive is, what it's like for you, and I know like we definitely see Unity North Tampa blessed, and and honor them as we move forward. But yeah, I'm really happy for you that your commute is going to get less, that you're going to get some of that time back into your life, and be able to maybe use that time to focus on some other things and yourself, a little.
Yeah. Well, my son is a senior in high school, and the church was so far. And he had things on Sunday that, I missed a whole family day with him. And, in this last year of high school, it'll be nice to be working closer. He can be somewhat involved. And, as a mom, this is a really important time. And so, I would say was one of the biggest kind of impetus for the move was more family time, because it's not like the drive wasn't fun and had gotten worse somehow. I'm not sure how.
There's more people. There's just more people.
More people dealing with Disney traffic on Sunday. But it was starting to be 2.5 hours home. It's like, now this is, I can't keep doing this. But I really will miss the church. And I'm super excited for Daytona too. So it's like, both can be true. Both can be true.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You can love the place you've been and be excited for the next place all at the same time.
Yes, and what I love about this, because there's no crisis. There was nothing wrong there. We're all on good terms. I'll probably have friends for life from the ministry, and I'm really honored to continue supporting, because I want every Unity ministry to go forward and thrive, of course, because I believe so strongly in these teachings. And actually, that brings us beautifully into today, I think, Sean, into our show.
Absolutely. So welcome officially, everybody, to episode 325 of the Experience of the Soul podcast, Vision.
Yeah, Vision. And I just had an awareness about this date. And so interesting that I just had an awareness about this date. So I'm needing to breathe a minute, because when I was it was after my first year of college. So I was about to start my second year of college. And my mom and I had left on a trip. We were going to drive across the country. We were going to drive from Georgia all the way to Seattle. And I don't know, just a week before we were supposed to leave, my mom's brother died in Florida. And so we had to come to Florida first, and then we were going to just start the trip from here. Well, we did start that driving trip and made it all the way to El Paso, Texas. And we were ahead of schedule. And when we called home, my sister and I called home on September 9th. And my sister, answered the phone and said, "Put mom on the phone." And when my mom got on the phone, she immediately said, "Granny," and then she said, "Not Daddy." And she dropped the phone and she went into shock. And I had to get back on the phone, and I found out my dad had passed during the night. And I had to figure out how to get my mom home to Georgia from El Paso. When we had been driving in those days, it was just really a very difficult situation. And you might be saying, well, I thought that the title of today was Vision. It is Vision, and we're going to get there. The reason I told you that story about my dad is I was young. He was very young. And my dad was super wise in so many ways. I can't tell you the number of things I learned about him, about life, about he had real good common sense, his kindness to others, the number of people he had helped, the way he was a friend. So many things that I learned from him in the short time we had together. And why I want to talk about him is that, as special as he was, he never had a high vision of his life. He knew to be kind to people. He knew to be good, but his self-worth, he didn't realize the gifts he had to give to the world. And he basically drank himself to death, and his life was cut short. And so I know this might sound dramatic or even intense, this story, but I often think about, because I've been writing a lot of stories about my childhood, and I think, what could life have been like if my dad would have lived longer than he did? I learned so much in a short time. But my dad was really caught in behaviors that he just could not overcome. That said, I don't hold any negativity. I've forgiven him. I miss him dearly, but I sometimes think, what if he would have known what I learned spiritually, in terms of what would that have changed the course of his life? And I always think back to that, because it was such a choice point in my life. And how did I want to live? How did I want to live? My dad died before his mother died. And it was just, it was such an awakening for me to see how every day in life we make a choice. Every day in life we choose what matters and what's important. And I've been on a deeper journey since, really. My journey after that deepened with God so much, because I had so much grief and so much pain that I was so close to my dad. And so as I developed over the years, I did finish college. I wasn't going to go back. And my professor said, "What would your dad want?" I said, "He would want me to finish." So even though in his death there was so much grief, it spurred me on to want to make better choices. It spurred me to make choices that my life would be spent with healing, that my life would be focused on trying to be of service however I could. And my dad taught me so many of those things. And so today is really about, what is the vision you have for your life? Like, where are you in relation to your life? Where are you in understanding what you're here for? We're not here to just, work, pay taxes and die. We're here to grow, to prosper, to evolve. And the way that purpose that wants to come through you, that's living your passion, your purpose. We've talked so much about dreaming big, and this is another aspect of that coming back around. It's like, we talked about, writing down some of the things you saw yourself accomplishing, what lights you up, what gets you excited, what spurs you to do more. And I want to come back around to that theme again, because it's so easy in the world today to get kind of smashed down and just think, I'm just going to get through the day, rather than having a higher vision, for your life and purpose. And it's really a great question to ask ourselves, like, am I living my purpose? Am I living my purpose? This is a great question to ask. Am I living my purpose? Am I living my purpose? Because, friends, I believe each of us is called to something great. Am I living my purpose? Yes, we need to be asking that question. This is a great question to ask, because you're called to something great. And what I continue to see over and over and over is that people have, once they get an idea, like once they start to dream big, as we talked about before, that you will be amazed at what you can accomplish as you allow yourself to just sink into the fact of, wow, I have had these deep held desires and intentions and even dreams. We find as we go forward, some of those dreams don't manifest, but they usually transform into new dreams, right? And it's been fun for me in my life to see my vision, how it plays out in different ways. And, what is the how that I get there? But I think first we need to think about, what is my vision for my life and world? I have my own vision statement for my life and for my for my purpose. I have a vision for my life, and it is really about living my purpose. And it's so funny, for years I was saying it every day, multiple times a day. I've shifted a word or two over the years. And I was just unpacking some things the other day and taking them. I took some things to my new office that I haven't had up in any office. I never had it in Tampa, but it says on there in really big, bold letters, I ignite soul evolution in humanity. I ignite soul evolution in humanity, which is a very large vision, right? I ignite soul evolution in humanity. And I often say, I help people grow, prosper, and evolve, right? That's secondary, I would say to that. I ignite soul evolution in humanity. And what does this mean? Well, it means that, this is a vision that I can never complete on my own. It's a vision I'll never complete this lifetime, but it is the idea of this vision that draws me forward in what I do every day. I ignite soul evolution in humanity. Okay. And then my mission, which we'll talk about next week, my mission for my life is then, how am I going to do that? But to get that vision, we're going to have to navigate through, what are the things that bring me joy? What are the things I think about and focus on when everybody's gone, when the noise stops? Where does my mind go? Where does my mind go? What is my psyche focused on? What brings me a great deal of joy? If you say, I just had this thought, if somebody's sitting there saying, well, when everybody's gone and it's quiet, I go into anxiety. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what brings you joy, what excites you, what are you focused on? And it's like, the reason we want to translate that into a vision for our lives is that it helps us know how to have boundaries with the direction we're heading. Does this bring us joy? Does this bring us purpose? Or no? It was interesting. For a while, I was looking to do more work in the corporate world. I was really guided to move that direction. And I talked to a lot of people. I, put out a lot of materials. And what happened, instead of me going in to corporate settings, even though I have done some of that, what occurred was I drew clients to my spiritual counseling and to my courses that were in the corporate world. And so, all of these individuals have a really big desire with bringing the spiritual into their lives and managing, supporting, uplifting their employees with the teachings that I teach them. And so, interestingly, my work is getting into the corporate world. It just wasn't the way my mind first thought. But the idea was to help organizations transform from the inside out by, some of these principles. Well, so rather than me going into the corporate setting, I'm working with people who are already in the corporate setting. And it was like, wow, this vision of soul evolution, is an easy match, for a church or for spiritual courses and for spiritual counseling. I have clients from all over the country right now in my counseling practice, and they're all basically from the corporate world. I've had leaders reach out to me, and it's fascinating to me that those individuals are now going in and transforming the places they work. So me wanting to impact humanity at a great level, what my thought was, I want to reach as many people as possible. Well, what's happening is the podcast is going out and it's reaching people all over the country, then friends who listen, who are working in corporate settings. Somebody's going through something, they mention me, and then I work with them. So this is how my vision is manifesting. So I'm working in a new ministry, as I mentioned. I'm counseling people all over the country. I do have a speaking event next month where I'm keynoting an event called Heal the Healers, and it's with not-for-profit organizations. It's for therapists, for people trying to get CEUs. So it will be in a quote unquote non-spiritual setting, but it's going to be the same teachings I teach everywhere, and it's going to be practices, signs to look for. So how my vision lives out in the world is through these various activities, through speaking, through counseling, through this podcast, through my ministry. And so, if I got, asked to go lead a union meeting of United Auto Workers, that would probably not be a fit for me, right? That would probably not be a fit for me. I'm like, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to inspire, but probably that would not be a place I would be. However, if you asked me to lead a prayer at the Daytona 500, I would be happy to do that. I'd be happy to do that. So what I've learned, though, in even establishing what my vision is for my life, is that I have to have support for my vision, both internally and externally. I've learned that I need both of those to match. And so, Sean and I were talking the other day on the show about, which I thought was funny when I went back and listened to it, that we were talking about reality TV shows. That was so funny to me. Sean, I don't know if that made you giggle later, but I thought it was funny. We were talking about Survivor and
I love
Next in Fashion. People are so surprised that you watched Next in Fashion. But it was exactly what I'm talking about today. It's about people start to live their potential when somebody believes in them, and so part of what I believe my role is in your life and in your world is helping you believe that there is something special for you to be doing. Like, you are called. How do I know you're called? Because you're walking around on planet Earth. I know that you have a purpose, and I want you to just glimpse a vision of what that purpose is. And it will just help decide the course and direction of your life. And if you're staying with us, how we were talking before with the dream big stuff, thinking, okay, what are these desires? And I wanted to just circle back to that to say, don't lose that thread. Don't lose that thread of, why am I here? And, it often, people often get, when I talk about vision, people often get the idea that it has to do always with your job. And vision is really, what am I here to do and be? Really, it's the beingness, right? And for instance, like my mom, I would say by how she behaved, my mom's purpose was to be of service. She was of service everywhere. When she worked in a restaurant, she was serving or cooking, but she was always of service to the people around her. So her job had service in it, but how she lived, she served her church, she served the neighbors, she served her family, she served all of the kids, and this was a really important role. So as you're listening, if you've been a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, or you haven't had a career, this still very much applies to you, because it's not about what am I supposed to go do in my career. It's about what is my life's purpose. In other words, what is my gift? What is my gift I'm bringing to the world? And we want to glimpse that, because if we're asked to do something, or there's opportunity that comes forward that's not a match, and we need to say no to that, we can say no to that and be super clear as to why. Because when we say no to something we're not supposed to be doing, what we are supposed to be doing comes forward as an opportunity. So I love this idea of vision. It's like, who am I and why am I here? Yeah. It's like the vision is your purpose. And then next week, when we talk about mission, that's the how. How's it going to happen? Am I living my purpose? This is the question we're asking today. Am I living my purpose? And then thinking about, so I want you to think about, and I want to review this again. What is bringing me joy? What brings me joy? I have a sister who, she's super special. We talk all the time, and I had called her the other day, and she answered and said, "I'm sorry, sis, I've got to call you back." And it was quite a while, which was unusual. And she called, and I said, "Is everything okay?" She said, "Yes." A neighbor was here. I gave them food. I said, "Well, was that the one neighbor I know to the right?" "No, that was the other neighbor." She said, "I'm feeding half the neighborhood." I said, "Well, sis, that's your ministry." And she said, "It is." And so my sister makes food for half the neighbors. The neighbors on the other side are accountants. And so during tax season, a couple nights a week, my sister will take over food to bless them so they don't have to cook because she knows they're busy. She knows they're busy. And then another neighbor, she takes shopping a couple times a week and they have lunch and everything. So it's like her ministry is serving her neighbors. And she's always been that way with food. She's an incredible cook. And then her husband goes around and mows lawns, and he does it. He's a retired nurse. He was an incredible combat nurse in the military, and then he worked for the VA. But anyway, he goes around and mows people's lawns, like widows who can't, do it themselves. And he does it as his ministry. So their gift of service, both of them, is incredible. So, they have a vision to be of service to the community in which they live. That's really their purpose. Right? And so I love that because it's not job related. It's like what brings me joy as I walk through the world? What brings me joy? And so as you discover what brings you joy, then the next step of that is making time to do it. Making sure that you have time to be in your joy. Now, I was working with somebody years ago who, had a day gig, but was really more of an artist and loved to paint. And she was falling into a depression. And I finally said to her, "Wait a minute, when is the last time you painted?" And she said, "Oh my goodness, I can't remember when." I said, "We're getting off the phone right now. Go get out your paints, figure this out." And the next week we talked, it was like talking to a completely different person because she had gotten her things out. She had been on purpose. I said, "Is there a way to paint 15 minutes a day?" Part of her purpose is to create art, through her painting. Like that's her purpose. And it wasn't her job, but when she wasn't living that part of her purpose, she wasn't happy. She was going into depression. And so I just know when we're living our purpose, we're in our joy, and we can feel it. So a lot of people say to me, "I have no idea what my purpose is." I say, "Oh, I don't believe that for a minute. You've always known what brings you joy. What brings you joy? What brings you joy?" And then once you know what brings you joy for sure, start making time for that. And then it'll transition later into some kind of statement for you that will help you like hold this idea for yourself. And then it'll help guide what you do with your time. So you're not giving away your time in ways where it doesn't belong. Yeah. Yeah. I had to make a, let me just say this again. Sorry. Make time for what brings you joy is so, so important. Make time for what brings you joy. But recently I had to choose between a meeting. There were these meetings in Unity, and I was really guided not to attend. And later people called me, and there was a lot of intense conversations, in the meetings. And I said, my energy was just not called there. I said, I know that those meetings were important, but I had clients, I had classes, I had my church. I could not subtract out of all of those things. And I just put my energy where I thought it belonged. And now months later, all that trauma that was going on, it's basically just over. It just kind of faded, an employee had brought up some big issue and everybody got all upset about it. For me, I realized that would have been wasted energy. It wasn't moving the ball down the field. It was ping-ponging my energy. And even though I do a variety of things, I do counseling, I do teaching, I do the podcast, I do a ministry, but all of those things are about soul evolution. All of those things are about soul evolution because that is my purpose. That is my purpose. So the support, so once you know what your joy is, and then you're making time to live, to live in your joy, that's part of the internal support for your work. And then you may have to ask people around you, it might be family, it might be friends, to support you in doing this. I often talk with caregivers. I've recently worked with several caregivers who have spouses, mothers, parents, who are ill. And one of the keys to them maintaining their sanity with all this care is making time for their joy and getting external support. And I said, it's really okay if you have to ask for help, because if you're not fueling yourself, eventually you're going to burn out. And your loved one needs you. So it literally, by living your purpose and knowing this vision for your life, it will help you support those around you even more. And it will also cause you to need people in your life to support you. So I want you to think about, if I'm in my joy, I'm making time for my joy, is there some kind of external support that I need to call forward? Is it to ask a friend, a neighbor, a spouse, somebody to support you on this journey? Is it to have a conversation? Is it to help with that loved one? Is it to get respite care? What kind of help and support do I need to really be in my joy and live that passion? But friends, as you start to know it, as you start to live your joy, and as you start to get the support inwardly, and the external support will come, but you also may have to reach out and get it. And what I know is that once those things are in place, things begin to align. You start to call more support to you. You start to have more time for living that passion, which is in line with your vision. So be thinking about, in the coming week, am I living my purpose? Am I really asking God and the universe? Am I really asking, what are my next steps? Am I in my joy? Am I making time for my joy as I move forward on this journey we call life? Because friends, not only do you deserve that, the world needs that. I want you to think about how the world looks right now and how great it could be if all of us were living our joy, our passion, and our purpose. My hope for you is that you will begin to support yourself, making time for your joy, to be living that joy, whatever that may be, and then supporting yourself internally with new practices, and then also calling that support to you, even asking for it, knowing that you're worth it, and knowing that as you're in this passion and purpose, that this vision you're holding for your life will definitely be a blessing to those around you, especially those you love most. So this is my prayer, dear friend, as you listen this week. Be in prayer. Am I living my purpose? Really do the work on that, and then we'll work on translating that vision into a statement next week, and then we'll work a little bit on your mission as well. All right, dear friends, so thank you again for listening today. It's always a pleasure to have you along the journey with us, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Blessings on the journey, dear friends.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2024 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Sean Kilgore. a production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated. Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.